It should better be important.
Yes, sir. The American agent has infiltrated the X-Lab facility.
Welcome back to the Funker 530 Combat Footage Review. My name is Ronnie. It's good to see you. Do me a favor, tap on the like button, drop a comment in the chat because we're back. It's Friday, and we're going to be starting right out of the gate here with a terror attack in Kashmir. More specifically, Kashmir, India. But let's get into the footage and we'll jump right into where exactly that took place. The big deal with this is the India-Pakistan conflict is something that's been ongoing for quite a long time, and just about anything that happens in that region of the world could very well reignite things. Take a look at where we're headed. This specifically is a tourist destination. There was video published, and there's quite a bit of it that we don't need to cover on tonight's show, but we will be covering a little bit of it. This is a tourist destination where quite a few Hindu men went, and effectively 28 were killed by Pakistani terrorists, specifically the terrorists of Lashkar-e-Taiba. Even more specifically, a splinter group of theirs that goes by the name of the Resistance Front. Here is the footage of at least a portion of that attack. Somewhere in the background, you can hear a lot of gunshots happening, but we won't be showing a lot of the up-close and nasty footage. I don't think it's truly necessary to understand the gravity of the situation. Right after we talk about that, we're going to dive into a little bit of what India's response was to this. Here's the footage. Stand by one. Let me get the banger music turned off. I never turn that off. Here you go.
तो यार बिहारियां पे छजुल दे यार तू मौत दी कश्मीर दी गेंद है.
You can still hear a couple of those shots going off at the very beginning of the video. Right there, right there. Now, one of the reports were that these terrorists, again, Lashkar-e-Taiba, these terrorists were forcing these Hindu men to pull their pants down, essentially check for circumcision, i.e., or lack of circumcision. Let's go to some of the follow-on footage, though, of essentially what India's response was to that. Now, this isn't technically combat footage, but Control-Z, but it should give you an understanding. Control-Z, there we go. This should give you an understanding of some of the complexities of the region. There are quite a few tributary rivers to the Indus. And many of those tributaries have dams on them. So this, specifically, is the Chenab. Chenab. Pronunciation isn't my strong suit. What India has chosen to do is effectively shut off dams in multiple areas of this tributary to the Indus River. Now, there is an agreement in place, the Indus Water Agreement, the Water Treaty, that effectively mandates, or both parties, India and Pakistan, shortly following 1947-48, that India will allow, since all of these rivers flow through India, Pakistan to receive Let's see if I can pull out here and give you a better view. Matter of fact, hold on. I'm going to pull up a different map for you guys. That way you can see something a little bit easier. Here we go. So the Indus here, following my mouse being the flow of water. The Chenab there. You have Salal Dam and Baglihar Dam. Both of these dams have been shut off, limiting the amount of water or reducing entirely the amount of water that is flowing into Pakistan. Now, Pakistan had stated that were India to do anything of the sort relative to water, shutting off water for Pakistan to use, that they would consider that an act of war. Well, again, 2 of those dams have now been shut off. So at this point, we are more or less walking straight towards a reopening of the India-Pakistan conflict. Now, the line of contact, the area in Kashmir that really separates the India-held areas with the Pakistani-held areas, that kind of erupts quite often, and that happened again. Here is reported to be engagements along the line of content, more specifically in the Lipa Valley. All right, let's bring that back up. Now, turning things around on the Pakistani side, multiple pieces of footage have surfaced showing Pakistani vehicles moving towards the line of contact. Here's one. Here. You see tanks? Let's go back to that footage, though, because I want to show you all the way down into these dams in these areas. So the first being Salal Hydroelectric Project, or the dam here, and we can almost follow that. So shutting this down, but then just upriver from Salal is Baglihar. Here. Both of which, as I mentioned, had been shut off. Now, from a total control of water perspective, the treaty that's in place, let's go back to this map that I had here. The treaty that's in place affords the eastern rivers, i.e. these, to be used, or the tributaries for the Indus, I should say, to be used by Pakistan, with the western 3 rivers to be used by India. But the Chenab, is one of those, I think I said that backwards. The Chenab is one of those that is supposed to be offered or available only to Pakistan. Anyway, this is a complex issue that goes back. It's not one that I'm overly familiar with, but based on some of Pakistan's statements, based on what India has done, i.e. shut off one of the primary tributaries to the Indus, which is a major source of Pakistan's water, this is one that we will definitely be following and should end up having some more footage and update for you the next time we're live. Next week, I'm out on another trip into Wyoming, but we'll keep an eye on it and check in on the website to see if anything else drops there. Let's move on to the next section that I have here, though. We're going to jump up to one of probably the craziest close quarters battles I have seen in quite a long time. This took place in Gaza. Clint Smith of Thunder Ranch had a quote not too long ago, everything's relative, where he said, there's no tactical way to clear a stairwell. The best way to do that is to go outside, call an F-18 on the radio, drop a 500-pound JDAM on that bitch, blow the motherfucker up. These are his words, just quote. And then you've cleared the stairwell. I think I agree with him based on this footage. Again, this takes place in Gaza between the IDF and Al-Qassam, Hamas. let's take you through this. Let's take you through this because I've seen a lot of questions about this and about how and why there's an explosion that happens and everybody assumes that it's a flashbang because, it doesn't immediately shred everybody to pieces. We have seen multiple videos of frag grenades used at very close range to people. We've even interviewed on the Funker 530 show somebody that has had a frag grenade go off within feet of their person. Frag grenades don't really do what video games might tell you that they do, at least to a certain perspective. They are very much so survivable. You're not going to feel great after it, and that's exactly what happens here. But let's walk through this kind of from top to bottom. So these guys at the top of the stairs start getting engaged. We can see the impacts on the wall here. Just as they're doing that, I don't know if this guy here on the bottom trips, but he also trips this dude up. This dude's going to fly down these stairs here in a moment. He makes it into the apartment, right? These next two guys are going to make their way in one after the other. One of them still crawling, still gunshots impacting the stairwell here. Something to note, though, and we talked about this before, there was a bit of footage that came out a little while ago of an IDF engineer. And he is clearing a room, and the walls in these structures are not like ours here in the United States. Ours are very much so sheetrock drywall, just might as well be paper mache. Walls there are most certainly not. They are much more cover than they are concealment. So we can see the impacts on the stairwell just underneath of where those guys were. Those impacts are from the IDF troops firing towards the stairwell. That is most certainly not a flashbang. Now, all of these guys are going to, at least multiple of them, and I shouldn't say certainly, but I don't see that to be a flashbang. I see that to be a fragmentation grenade. These guys probably are peppered with a bit of fragmentation themselves, keeping in mind and remembering that shrapnel was a dude and fragmentation is what kills dudes, and you have primary and secondary fragmentation. Primary fragmentation is the stuff, the perforated edges on the outside of a hand grenade or essentially anything built into the munition designed to fragment and cause damage, kill, maim. Secondary fragmentation are the bits and pieces of concrete that are going to get thrown up by that. Bone, wood, gravel, etc., both of which can very much so be deadly. Now, once they make their way all the way back into the apartment, that's when they essentially just hold this funnel here. Now, I don't really know what happened after this. But the chaos, I'm going to give you like a personal opinion. The chaos of close quarters battle. There's this romanticized idea of CQB. Everybody with a plate carrier is out in their backyard with a fake glass house practicing clearing rooms. Practice getting the fuck out of there, to be honest with you. That looks like it's terrifying, just to be frank. Let's watch it all the way through one more time, and then we'll move on to our next bit of footage. Where did the name come from? I believe you can actually see it. Stand by. So, if I'm not mistaken, there's an artifact that hits the door, or you can hear the artifact. Let's play this slow. Playback speed 0.25. See if I can catch it again. No. Let's play it with sound normal speed. See if I can hear what I heard when I initially went over it. See, that's the sound that I heard. You'll hear kind of a ticking sound, almost like something is falling. 3 ticks there. Tick, tick, tick. Tick, tick, tick. But the grenade would have come from upstairs. Let's move on to our next bit of footage that we have here. We have a Hamas ambush. Now, this ambush, we do happen to have a little bit of information as to what exactly it led to, but it's a very close range or near side ambush of 2 IDF non-tactical vehicles. This is reported to have taken place just to the east of Beit Hanun in the northeastern sector of Gaza. I could show you guys that on the map once we're done watching the footage. Note the vehicles, and then note... and then we'll talk a little bit more about what exactly happened, how many wounded, etc. at the end of the video. Miss? No, they did not miss. So just like we've talked about before, though, make note of the positioning of the mortar tube here, and then when he fires at the position of the mortar tube afterwards, he is trying to weigh it down with that sandbag on the back. But that thing's just that's going to be hundreds of meters off in a different direction. Even if they had set up some level of like a I don't know, a sighting system, which I don't believe the majority of them use. That's generally, once again, that away. Okay, that could be landing anywhere. So this ambush specifically resulted in the death of at least one IDF warrant officer. Now, we were able to, essentially draw a conclusion with that based on the statements from Hamas and the statements from the IDF, each of which described exactly what you're seeing here. Now, there is a slightly longer version of this video that's somewhere out there, and I saw it on the first day we shared this, but I wasn't able to go back and find it again, that shows them coming out of tunnels. The IDF statement said effectively exactly that. Both the Hamas statement and the IDF statement said we did a rocket attack after coming out of tunnels against Israeli trucks. The IDF said, one of our warrant officers was killed and multiple wounded. I guess there were some intel folks in here as well, some like ISR surveillance types, which would make sense to have a warrant officer along with them. But that slightly longer version of just shows them coming up out of the tunnels. Now, the use of non-tactical vehicles is pretty common. I drove a non-tactical vehicle all over Afghanistan during my time there. Not every vehicle that's in place is going to be up armored in some way. Now, ours had some level of small arms armor, but an RPG was going to chew right through that thing, more or less. So I've seen a lot of comments about the type of vehicles that they're running, about, why aren't they in tanks? Well, if you're moving to and from logistics points, something like that, there are going to be plenty of non-tactical vehicles used. Let's bring it up. And we're going to an IDF airstrike, except this is kind of a before and after IDF airstrike, cause and effect kind of deal. Hamas fires a rocket from this window. And then they don't do that again. You can see, when I first reviewed this, I had no idea what the hell was happening. But that's an RPG being fired out of that window and impacting close to whatever is recording here. I don't know what's recording here. I don't know if it's like IDF surveillance of some kind. But then they don't do that again. And one more RPG, since we're on the topic. This is going to be an RPG versus a Merkava. Now, it isn't often that we're able to see such clear footage of impacts of RPGs, largely because of the active protection system on Merkavas. Merkavas have the trophy. What is it, the Windbreaker trophy system? I know it's the trophy. There's another name for it, and I think it's the Windbreaker. Wherein effectively, as a direct fired munition like an anti-tank guided missile or an RPG starts to get close to it, when it is enabled, charged, and ready, and from a certain distance, there are arguments as to how far away you can or should be for the APS to engage. Regardless, we don't get to see a lot of footage that are clearly indicative of a Merkava being impacted by RPGs. This is certainly the case here.
يا رب كتب على الجميع يا رب يا رب تقبل منا يا رب الله اكبر الحمد لله والاسلام يا رب الله اكبر الحمد لله والاسلام يا رب قتل النساء والاطفال كتب على الجميع يا رب يا رب تقبل منا يا رب.
And that actually, is that a Merkava, guys, or is that one of the Namers or the, the APC type vehicles? Because I see this Merkava's gun in the back, but that's not this vehicle's. Namer? Yeah. All right, great, guys. Thank you for the correction. Merkava behind, yeah. I think when I first reviewed this footage, I just saw this and said, oh, okay, that's Merkava, and I wrote it down, but good call. All right, let's bring it up. And we're going to be headed to our next section. I'm going to pause and say thank you very much to all the support, and thank you guys for it, and for always just continuing to support us. I appreciate it so much. Mosen, thank you for the 5 gifted, and those went to Seriously America. I get it. Dwayne, Matthew, Linda Lou, and KC Frame. Welcome to the Funkers, everybody. Mr. Hayes, thank you for the $20 for ammo funds. I'm going to need it. We're going all the way out to Wyoming to spend some time with our friends at KRG. They're hosting KRG Extreme, doing some extreme long-range shooting out there, and launching or working on the footage for launching a new project. And I'm very, very excited for it because it's something that I've been planning and working on now for probably the last 2 years. Let's move on. We are headed to Lebanon, where we have an IDF airstrike against what they describe as a Hezbollah terrorist. Let me log into the website here. Log in. Nailed it. Oh, that didn't work. Stand by one, guys. We're doing it live. Boom, boom. And paste. Go. Here you are. You need Indian tech support, and his name is Kevin or something. Seen it. Okay. Good. So that's the first strike that happens there, which probably disables or flattens tires or something in this truck here. But then the driver dismounts, doubles back, and probably didn't escape that one. Now, I don't know. I wasn't a part of the target development package for this, so I have no idea who this individual was outside of the IDF report that said very specifically this was an individual associated with Hezbollah. Let's bring it up. Let's head to Yemen. In Yemen, this will be not our first. We were just looking at the map. The U.S. has continued airstrikes in Yemen against the Houthis. One of the most recent took place here against oil infrastructure. And we have some aftermath footage of that exact location for you right here. Tachanka, thank you very much for 567. Civilian target? No. No, this would not be a civilian target. Hit by? Unclear what it was hit by. But I will say something that's very, very interesting, and we're not going to watch all this because it's 13 minutes long. But something that's very interesting is the SDB-2. What is it? The GBU-53A? Something like that. Stormbreaker. Relatively new munition has been used against the Houthis. And we know it's been used because one of them fell out of the sky. Like it didn't go off. It had some kind of a technical failure, landed in the sand out there somewhere, and a bunch of photos of it ended up online. So overwhelming likelihood that these are airstrikes, some possibility that they are the SDB-2s or the Stormbreaker, I want to say it is. How do they know it's not a civilian? Well, that's what you call the... There's a whole lot to answer that question. Being a part of the people that put these strike packages together at one point in time, you have what would be called target development, right? So through the justification of this strike, you would essentially have an ISR soak of the area. You would have both HUMINT, SIGINT, comment sources. There are all types of pieces of information that you would use to develop this target and then strike the target. A litany of information, but I'm not a part of that targeting cycle, so I have no idea. Comment is communications intelligence. But I think that's an interesting piece to all of this. That there are so many people that don't have insider access to, including me. I at least don't have the access to it. But I have been a part of the target development process and the targeting life cycle. There is so much that goes into the development of a target outside of certain emergent circumstances, and it's not always correct. A good example of it not always being correct was the disastrous strike in Kabul that killed 10 civilians. Some of the best writing the Funker 530 team has ever done was doing our best to hold the United States military and associated industrial complex, of which I am still a part, accountable for strikes like that. So it doesn't always go well. It is a function of providing the necessary time associated with the development of targets. let's bring it up. We're going to head to Somalia, where we have some more al-Shabaab footage. In this instance, their release that they put out says very specifically, they have captured the town of Yasuman. Here's their video. I have no idea what he's saying. Something, something sandals. His vehicles are nice, though. Come on, dude. There we go. The reason I show stuff, from this perspective is it provides a little bit of insight. I shouldn't say behind the scenes, but it shows that al-Shabaab is alive and well, still, quote, taking territory. This is an area that they hadn't previously been. And these splinter faction groups, whether they be offshoots of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, wherever, are still very much so active. We're going to take a pause, and I'm going to show you guys probably one of my favorite historical combat footage archive videos that we have on the site, while I check in on the support here. And this one is actually really cool. So this would have been circa 1945. Now, the original report, when we pulled it to archive, it said that these were Americans ferrying equipment across a river near Montereau. There's some likelihood that they are Brits, and I'll tell you why. But again, that original archive source where we pulled it to put it into our archive stated that they were Americans. Check this out, because they're doing that under machine gun fire from the Germans. There's no sound to it. The reason there's some likelihood that these are Brits is that this looks like a Vickers. But what might not be clear to you, and you can see the impacts in the water. Those impacts in the water are from a German machine gun upriver. There's dudes paddling this thing across in the water here. And nobody shoots back? Well, I mean, they're in the water. I don't know why this guy's not shooting. The original Browning were water cooled? You're not wrong. So again, I err on the side of our original source. There he is. He's shooting there. He's engaging there. Wave. Yeah, see, he's engaging. He starts taking rounds and then kind of ducks for just a second. And that's probably why he started taking rounds, was because he was engaging. Those are Brits? Well, that's why I said way back when that there is some likelihood that they are Brits. Bringing it up, and we're headed into our Ukraine section for tonight. Could be Canadians. I don't see any of them sporting any like maple syrup pouches or anything like that. Moscow is where we are headed tonight. Don't need to pull up Ukraine control map. We're headed to a suburb of Moscow, just to the east. Very specifically to this location, this exact spot here. Major General Yaroslav Moskalik was killed in a car bombing walking close to his house. We have the footage of that bombing from two angles. The first, from the ground. Something to note. Just before the detonation, just keep an eye on these trees here. The report stated that Yaroslav was walking close to his home when the car bomb detonated. Looks to me like that's him right there behind those trees. Now, there is footage of the aftermath of this. It isn't pretty. It's not, and it's also not necessary for us to review, but I do have this video that was released actually first. It's coming up for you guys here, and it shows the car bomb just after it went off. All right, let's bring it up. War crimes? No, technically that wouldn't meet the definition of it. The technique isn't overly. You can not like the technique, but as long as if you are targeting a military target in a populated area, you have to ensure that you are doing everything in your power and can justify that you did everything in your power to mitigate or limit civilian casualties. So if he's the only one that died in that, that would by definition be a wartime target, regardless of where they are. The 51st Grau Arsenal is a very large arsenal located here, not too far from Moscow. That's why we're covering it here. Was hit, and I would say probably 50% of this place is now gone. The mushroom cloud that was left over after this thing went up was astronomically large. And it continued to cook off for quite a while and threw, according to Russians, munitions up to 10 kilometers away from it.
Соседи вояки все полетели. Ох, ни хрена ж себе. Жару отсюда чувствуется.
Woof.
Осколки летят.
See these guys getting back in their building there. Look at that.
До сюда осколки.
Just so you know, if you ever feel sad, just know that there is a not small amount of people that are probably right now discussing how this is. It's not how this is a tactical nuke that was used. These are compressed munitions inside of bunkers that, you know, it's, if you let a firecracker go off in your hand like this, it's going to go off and it's not going to cause a problem. When you close your hand and let the firecracker go off, it's going to blow your hand off. Similar situation. All of those munitions in those bunkers are going to detonate in very, very spectacularly. I use that word in its fundamental definition. That's what you're seeing here. But I got into a back and forth with somebody one time on Twitter. It's like, well, look, it's a mushroom cloud. And it's like, I'm surprised you're able to make it to your vehicle in the morning. Let's finish this one up.
Прилетели. Офигеть. Барош, ты чё, всё хорошо? Военный склад.
I've got one more video of that, and then I've got some before and after satellite imagery of the strike. More sympathetic detonations of ammunition at the 51st Grau. Fertilizer explosion in Beirut. Looks like a nuke. It does, yeah. Yep, that's actually a great example to use to show people that, you know, you can have a mushroom cloud and it does not have to be nuclear. Some people just err on the side of non-essential vitamin versus your essential vitamins. Here is some before and after satellite imagery of that location. I thought this was a super interesting thing to see here. Let's pull that up here. Here, I'll just pull it up on Twitter. Look at that. I would say a good 40 to 50% of that place, each of these, small container areas being loaded down with ammunition. And this is not a small area. Let's see how large this place is. So 2.5 kilometers long by, stop. By a kilometer wide. Almost a kilometer and a half for this section over here. This is not a small ammunition storage area. So, there we go. All of these gone now. All right. Let's move on to our next bit of footage in Kyiv. Here, there was a missile attack conducted against Kyiv. This one was actually responded to by President Trump. Trump said specifically, well, I shouldn't say specifically, I'm paraphrasing. I don't like it. It's bad timing. Stop Vladimir. Here's the missile attack. And I want to say I have some footage here that shows the impact area. That video is coming up for you now. Oh, no, this shows... So, from what I understand, take this with a grain of salt. Everything is always based on my understanding of the context that I have right now. From what I understand, 1, maybe 2 of these missiles made it through, but some of them were intercepted. That's the footage that you're about to see here. And then a little bit of footage. I want to say this is going to be the impact area. Yes. Puppy dog. And maybe one more here. Also of the impact area. I think this is just a little bit closer into the rubble. Discretion advised on this. I'm not sure if this is one of the ones that shows some of the casualties being pulled out. Now, there were some reports that came out saying that this was a KN-23, which would effectively make it one of the North Korean munitions that have been used against Ukraine for quite some time now. I, of course, have no way to validate that whatsoever, right? That's just a report that I read, but something notable. Let's move into Kursk, where we will head over to the Ukraine UA control map now. That way we can see the forward line. And we're going to start here, where we have 203 millimeter Ukrainian artillery hitting what was described as a Russian-occupied position. I'll bring it back and show you where that is in a little bit better fashion. Sometimes I have a habit of breezing through the map. I'll try and be better about that. But here's the footage. All right. Had to take my hat off. Let's move to the next one here, where I have a Russian airstrike against Ukrainian positions up there. But first, I want to show you where that is on the map, just so you can see rough location. I might have pasted that. I did. Well, I just didn't show it to you. Oh, I'm stupid. I'm stupid. So here is exactly this little dot, Kievo. I don't know. That little dot there, that's really difficult to see because I can't export UA control maps. If you're listening, I can't export UA control map into Google Earth anymore, which is what we were doing for a little while. But that's where that is along the front line, up in Kursk. We are headed to this location, though, still in Kursk, but a Russian airstrike with what is reported to be Fab 3000. This was, again, reported to be against Ukrainian positions. It's difficult for me to know. There's always going to be multiple dates. I've talked about this before when it comes to combat footage. There's going to be the publication date, and then there's going to be the date that the actual footage takes place. The best I can typically do for you is give you the publication date. The publication date for this was April 21st. Whether or not there are still Ukrainian troops there today, or even as of April 21st, I can't be certain. Here's the footage. Russian airstrike on Ukrainian positions. It's a big boom. Let's bring it up. And before we move into the next bit of footage, I need to pause. I said I was going to stop and check in on the support, and I didn't, and I'm sorry. Bobby J, thank you very much for the $10. Happy birthday, Ronnie. It's not my birthday. It's not my birthday's in September, more specifically on September 1st. But thank you very much for the $10. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very, very much. FK, thank you very much for the 420. Ever drink a beer out of the AT4 behind you? No, but I suppose I could. I mean, it's been fired once, so it's inert now. It's just a tube. It'd make a good beer bong, I guess. I haven't really had reason to, but I absolutely should now that you said that. I think I've joked about it before. Well, I don't know. Don't get me hemmed up like that Navy guy that got hemmed up for having a demilled RPG tube. Okay. So this is actually like a huge thing right now, and the gun community's rightfully up in arms about it. There's a Navy sailor that had, a demilled, an inert RPG tube, and the government is essentially arrested him for it, for saying he had a rocket launcher, and that's because they're stupid, plainly. Anyway, Anthony, thank you for the $50, dude. Holy wow. Ronnie, you're the man. No, you. Thank you for that, bro. Appreciate that. Tachanka, thank you again for the 567. Calico Jack, thank you for the 38 months, brother. Hey guys, soon I'm gonna have my studio fixed. I don't know if you can hear the echo, but it was a major problem. It's been a major problem for me. I've got a bunch of foamies down on the ground at the moment right now to try and mitigate it. But that's also one of the reasons that the stream might be shut down for a little bit. I gotta have my entire basement redone because of all that water damage. So over the next week, there won't be another stream. And then the week after is kind of a crapshoot as to where that is in the renovation. Let's move on in our footage, though. We are headed into Donetsk already. Kind of moving through everything that I had here tonight. We have a Russian airstrike on what was reported to be a Ukrainian drone position or a drone command post, drone operator's position. Not very far behind the forward line. But the video takes place here. And then all the way back out. Coming up for you now. Ready fit tonight? Yes, sir. What's love got to do? Ronnie should say every happy birthday must now be accompanied by a $5 minimum dono. I mean, that'd be cool, but this stream is free, and it'll always be free. And I don't know, I suppose I could. I think it's normal, to drop like a promo for Super Chats, but you won't catch me doing that. Again, I don't relay this information in the hopes that you provide Super Chats. If you do, that's awesome. That's amazing. It's above and beyond, not expected, but I don't do this show for the money. Certainly not. We'll just put it that way. Anyway, let's head to Chasiv Yar, where we're going to this spot, and we're going to see Russian MLRS, and I can't tell. It doesn't look like it's TOS, so maybe grad. But it impacts, generally speaking, roundabouts, because there's multiple impacts in this area. That video is coming up for you guys. Here. What's that on your lip? A saddle. They might be TOS, just based on these explosions on the right here. Just very fiery. I wouldn't be surprised if that's TOS. Thermobaric. In Pokrovsk, or near Pokrovsk. I don't have a great geolocation for this. The best I can do is the initial report. But this is footage of a POW taken during a very close engagement. Unfortunately, we have one of those situations here where there's combat footage, combat sound mixed in with dubbed music. We're going to run into that here in a little bit again as well, with some really fascinating footage to watch, giving insight from both a top-down perspective and from a first-person video perspective. But we'll get there when we get there. This is a POW taken during a close-range engagement, which they then move this POW off the location they take him from, and then get into a follow-up engagement. Here you are. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to deal with the copyright after.
Виходимо! Руки вгору! Автомати до гори! Петуха, нет, контроль! Выходим по одному! Следующий! Ползи сюда, сука! Следующий! Сколько есть? Больше нет его? На колени! Руки в замок, на! Руки в замок, на! Крый! Бери быстрее, лицом бери! Руки за голову, в замок! Быстрее, на! Руки в замок! Все буде добре, не переживай! Піп, контроль! Піпчик, там, в ту сторону! Тримай, піп! Фиш по платье! Выходи! Выходи, это будет Куда?
Ronnie is low T. I can't help it.
Canty lost his live stream abilities for a while for showing full auto. I don't know who that is. But I mean, this is Funker 530. Yeah, we've been covering full auto everything now for the last 16, like a generation of years. If that's what takes us down, so be it. We'll be back. I promise. Let's move on. We have in Hirson a MiG-29 hitting a Russian-occupied position with AASM hammer. This specific position here. Normal gun tube channels show full auto tube. Yeah, I have like a gun vlog channel that I put full auto stuff on all the time. It gets demonetized, sure, but it's on there. 240s, 249s. Hammer. Was that a double tap? Or just a single? All right. I do have aftermath of that strike, though. So it's oftentimes that you either have aftermath or you have the strike. You don't typically have both. But I do have aftermath of that very specific location once it got hit with the AASM hammer. Delivered once again by a MiG-29. Just needs some new drywall. It's going to be fine. All right. But wait, there's more AASM hammer. Both with, actually, let's check the map first. Let's check the map first. Slow down, run. We're going here. That warehouse, once again, in Hirson. And we do have the strike and the aftermath of this footage. Here is the strike. And here comes the aftermath. What was once is no more. Nice haircut, by the way. Thanks, man. The missus likes it. Who votes that Ronnie should grow man bun? The army cult would not be very happy with me if I did that. So, not going to happen. Not going to work here anymore. Now we're going to move into our general section that I have, and this means, once again, just like always, that I don't have a great location for any of this footage. Typically, though, this is where we often find some of the craziest stuff that we've got. This very first one is a really interesting video that shows TTPs, techniques. Specifically, this is going to be a Ukrainian special operations team moving to a forward position using a laser designator and using a laser designator to call in, or I shouldn't say call in, but guide a missile onto its target. Super interesting stuff. Here you are. I'm going to turn that off because, I mean, we're already going to deal with the one copyright claim, but I'd rather not have to deal with more than one. First impact there, if you saw it. If you blink, you'll have missed it. What vehicle did they drive in on? Looked like an M Razor, based on the passenger handle. Maybe a Chinesium version. I didn't look very closely. I don't actually mean a Chinese version. I mean like an off-brand of some kind. But I would say that's a Razor, without a doubt. 100%. 157 billion %. I have, spent time in that right seat. All right. Here is, every so often we'll get the opportunity to really get almost a 360 perspective of an engagement, way down at the combat level. Once upon a time, I did an edited video of if you remember K2 in the T intersection and breaking down their entire engagement around this intersection. Well, that is effectively what we're going to be able to do here. I'm going to give you a video first, and it's not going to give you the whole picture. We'll just put it that way. But don't worry. I got you. Oh, discretion advised. Sorry. Commit to memory this location. Look at that rifle, by the way. What a piece of junk that is. I bet it runs, though. I bet you can dunk that thing. I bet you can dunk that thing in peanut butter, and it's still going to run. Like, seriously, like chunky, nasty, not even good peanut butter. I'm talking Food Lion brand peanut butter, and that thing's still going to run. All right. Now I'm going to show you the full video of that engagement from the soldier's perspective. Here you are. Discretion advised for this series of videos. Discretion advised.
Вдвоем насыпаем. Раз, два, три. Отойди от меня, отойди.
What's that on his back? I see all the comments and questions about that. More than likely a rifle case of some kind. There's some possibility it's not. But I'd be willing to bet that maybe like an anti-drone gun, just, you know, something that he needs to hook around in a case. Hard to tell. But we've now seen the soldier's perspective of that. Here's the top-down perspective. What's very interesting to me here is that I don't know. So here let's start with what we don't know. I don't know between that first engagement that was up close with, you know, the guy, they're in spitting distance. Like you could spit on each other at that. I don't know the time between that and this taking place. But here is at least the latter half of that video from a drone's view. Here are those 3 Ukrainians down in the rubble, and here are the 2 Russians moving left to right. So they engaged and then moved into their bunker area that they have here. Now, I don't have a great geolocation for this, but I'm willing to bet that somebody out there will be able to geolocate this based on the surroundings. Just, you know, you have a couple things that you can use. There's a light pole here. There's a T intersection. You've got this house, right? And there are just absolute killers when it comes to geolocating and geospatial analysis, imagery analysis. I can't do it. I'm willing to bet this can be done. And I'm also willing to bet that this is, you know, obviously on the far edge of the forward line. These Russians are patrolling this area. Maybe these are Ukrainian scouts in some way, because they don't look like they're expecting to see anybody. I'll just put it that way. Now, again, I don't know how long between that first engagement we end up with this second engagement. Presumably, those 2 Russians would have heard the first engagement, even if it's up to like a couple kilometers away, right? I can hear my neighbors 2 clicks out, you know, shooting their whatever they probably got a howitzer. They've got a howitzer or something. I don't know, like a deck gun, whatever it is. I want to shoot it because it sounds awesome. But this is one of those examples, and it epitomizes why we do what we do here at Funker 530. Yes, it shows direct contact with the enemy. It also shows both perspectives on the ground and top down. That imperfection that you have with video as a lens into combat gets less and less when you start to add the audio back to it. When you can do that top down perspective and not just get the first person perspective. But it's stuff like this that can be accessed for years to come. And analyzed, this specific example is, really just a near side ambush is all it is. But it is exemplary of the type of footage that we love to capture at Funker 530. If we never covered another drone strike again, I would be okay with it, frankly. All right, let's move to our next one, and then we're on to our last video. Discretion heavily advised on this one. I have no idea what hit these guys. None. Something did, though. There's a couple options, but we'll talk about those here in a second. 2 Russians standing in a doorway, and then they're shot. Again, discretion advised. This is going to be probably another one of those examples of not standing around in the open doing nothing. This is very interesting from a video perspective for me. Impacts on this wall here tells me that it either came from inside this house or through the house. And, you know, there's some possibility that, I don't know, there's a window on the opposite side of this thing that just gave somebody a perspective right through there. But there are also 2 rounds that hit. Now, there's, I don't remember which one of the team members put this up, but they inferred that it could possibly be, you know, 1 round that made this happen. There are actually 2 impacts here. So what you could be looking at, is a sniper team of some kind, you know, counting down from 3, 2, 1, fire. And then they both engage, both hit each of their targets in this. There's another, less likely, but still possible based on the context here, that house being there. It's weird for the round to come all the way through the house like that. There's also some likelihood that they got shot by somebody in the house. I don't know. I have no idea. But with the impacts hitting on this inside wall here, I can understand maybe it was a deflection round if it came from this way, if it was just one of those, just one impact. But with both impacts on the wall, 1, 2. A ricochet? Yeah, that's where I was going with just a moment ago. I can understand if only one of them ricocheted that way like that, but not both. Not both. That means that they came through that house from the left here, from our left. Looks like it comes from the house. Yes. What's unclear is whether or not it comes all the way through the house, i.e. from some location way off to the left here, or from actually inside that house specifically. So there could be like a large window, or the backside of this house could be blown off and they're just seeing all the way through it. I don't know. It is a good example. You know, once again, this is another video, maybe on the more extreme edge, that is exemplary of why we do what we do at Funker 530. I can see this video being shown in a pre-deployment checklist saying, don't stand around doing absolutely fuck all. Especially somewhere along the forward line of troops. Must be really big bullets from the impact. Let's talk about that, actually, because something I've been researching lately is there are a couple people that are heavily invested in the purchase and delivery of 375 Shytacs to Ukraine. And I see a lot more sniper footage that's starting to come out. And the 375, you know, in a lot of cases, and maybe that's just because I do a lot of precision shooting myself, so the algorithm is serving that up to me. But there's some possibility that you're looking at something based on those impacts that is not a small round that's moving through there. Something like a 375 Shytac, right? Anyway, I thought that one was an interesting video to look at. That's going to be it that I have for you guys tonight. I need to check in on the support, and thank you very much for it. Muttley, thank you for the 2660. Stash looks dapper, mate. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. I think the missus likes it. She says that she doesn't, but I feel like she does. Just saying, I feel like she does. I appreciate you, dude, and thank you very much for the 2660. John Maxwell, thank you very much for the $20. As a thanks for the risk. The what? But thank you for the $20. BH, thank you for 23 months of membership. The why do I pay? Because I love it. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you very much. I mean, there's a reason that the member cost is like $1.99 or $2.99, like something low like that. Like if you do want to support us, that's super easy. We'll never ask for it. We'll always appreciate it. And thank you very much. John, thank you for $5. Ronnie, you are not stupid. You are an extremely talented influencer. Oh, I hate it. I hate that word so much. But I love you for the $5. Bobby, thank you for the $10. Happy birthday, Ronnie. Boss. It's not my birthday. I think I already read that one, but it triggered me again. That's not the trigger word, influencer. The trigger word is birthday. I always have one more video for you, though, and I forgot to cover this one earlier, but I do believe that I have the first bit of footage from the India-Pakistan conflict showing them absolutely going at it. Guys, I'm going to be following up this stream with one where you can come, sit back, drink a bunch of bourbon with me, maybe even play squad yourself, where we'll be supporting veteran charities, specifically Stack Up. We're continuing to raise money for their mission in combating veteran suicide through gaming. I hope you'll swing by over there. I won't see you next week because I'll be shooting some extreme long range myself. We'll talk about that on the next show or on the next stream just after this one, because it's a project that I've been working on for a really long time, and I'm really excited to share it with you. And I hope you'll join me in taking a look at what we've got to share. But good night. Go be great and stay informed.
Yeah. If you want to go, then you go to hill and go down.
Why you get fried,
yes,
man?
why? Are you crazy?
You're fucking paranoid,
You are
man.
fucking, you are fucking.
You fucking, you bloody.
You bloody.
Fuck you, bloody. Bastard, bitch.
You
fuck you,
bastard,
fuck
you.
you. Bloody, fuck you, bloody. Fucking mother, bloody, fuck, bitch.
Bitch, you
Bloody,
what
fuck
do?
you fucking bloody bastard. Benchwood, bloody.
Banchot, you.
You blunder.
No, but why? Is
Bloody no.
Why?
Bloody
That
fucking.
is accident, then what you wanna do?
Why you fuck me? I fuck you, bloody. Bloody bastard. Fucking running like lady, eh? Bloody. What the fuck, man? Fucking now shout at me, innit? Why are you shouting at me?
Because I am going to the work. If you don't do, you do to other places.
Why are you shouting?
Because of this, you are doing. I don't know. You are doing like this. I think you are going to accident.
No, shouting at me no good, man. Me no shout at you.
But the thing is that, what you think if you do like this one, you are going at work and somebody else.
But
do
that
like
one,
this.
if you running like that one, you gonna fucking fall, innit?
But
Hurting yourself.
But yeah, because of this, I saved myself.
That one very icy road, man. Okay, have a nice day. Bye bye. Okay, have a nice day. Bye bye.
Good night.